that. Think about the sustainability angle. It was touched on earlier by Jerry. It's very important to the market. Again, one of the failings of small businesses is not thinking in terms of sustainability. What do we bring to the party? I've come into contact with more businesses than I care to remember who are frightened to say to authorities, if we win that contract, we'll actually need to create a couple of jobs. Well, actually, if you win that contract and you're going to create a couple of jobs, that's a huge win for the authority, because that's what they're looking for. They're looking to develop employment opportunities. All the better if you can develop those opportunities in the authority's area. All the better if you can take them from within the authority's area, because you help their local labour targets, you help their apprenticeships and skills potentially. So don't be frightened to say things of that nature. It doesn't have to be a hidden secret. I talked about partnering earlier. One of the areas you can think about in terms of sustainability is, are there organisations in the third sector you should be partnering with? And I'll turn that one around as well for those in the third sector. For those that don't understand third sector, it's voluntary and charitable organisations and social enterprises. For those in the third sector, I'll say the same thing. Start looking at private sector organisations you can partner with, because far too many third sector bodies are frightened to talk to private sector, and there's no justifiable reason. There is a huge opportunity for both parties there. So start to think in terms of sustainability. Are there people there we can work with? Can we bring them into our solution? Does it deliver something the authority wants? As Jerry said, it's really, really important to know the audience. It's important to go in and look and see what that authority's drivers are, what's key to them, and start talking in their language. And it's a lot easier to actually do that when you stop using the scattergun approach and you start looking at the opportunities that you realistically can win. You can then focus more on them. When you're chasing 20 opportunities a month, 30 opportunities a month, and I have come across companies chasing that number unbelievably, you can't focus. If you're chasing 1 or 2 or 3 opportunities a month that you've got a far better chance of winning, then you can take the time to focus on those authorities and understand exactly what their drivers are. But realistically, sustainability is massive. It's an area you really have to consider in terms of your solutions. It's one of those key things that the public sector is considering, and in fact, in terms of not all the political agendas, but certainly in terms of the SNP agenda, I noticed yesterday that it's been announced that they are definitely looking at how they can use community and sustainability as key drivers in procurement in the years ahead. It's already been something that's been addressed, but they're really pushing for it now in terms of the SNP agenda. If we end up with the same government, and nobody's got a clue at the moment, we're still 2 weeks away, but if we end up with the same government, I'll tell you now that that's going to be really key in terms of procurement in the future, is the whole sustainability side. So the last couple of slides, what the buyers are looking for, just for you to think about. They want people to deliver what they've asked for. They're looking for people who are capable of delivering what they really require. And SMEs address that. SMEs are more capable. They want tenders that comply with the ITT itself. Get into the habit of giving them the information they want, but get into the habit of giving them more information as well. Telling them more about your capabilities, where you address what their drivers are. Look at the terms and conditions early as well. If you can, agree to them. If you're going to have to argue with them early. Don't leave it. Don't bring bad news to the equation at the end. Look at how you bring that added value. And yes, it does say up there at no extra cost, because if it's something you're already doing, it shouldn't come at an extra charge. Public sector wants the Rolls-Royce solution, but it wants it at the Mini Cooper price. If they ask for the Rolls-Royce solution as add-ons, make sure that you identify each element separately. Again, too often I've seen companies who look at all the optional requirements that an authority has, lumps the whole lot in and gives them a price, and then wonders why they lose. If you can bring things at no cost, make sure you identify them, tell them what they're getting. It can be something as simple as management information. Now, that can be beneficial because it saves them having to produce. So think about those sorts of things. Ask about the budget. Again, when you're going after opportunities, too often, and you know this as well as I do, it doesn't tell you in the adverts what the budget is. It doesn't tell you in the PQQ what the budget is. Don't be frightened to ask. You'll be surprised how often they'll tell you roughly what the ballpark figure is that they have. It's not really a state secret or anything else, it's just that nobody thinks they'll really stick it there in the documentation, because if they put it in the documentation, there's this mentality in certain parts of the public sector that if they tell you you've got £1 million, you'll bid at 999,000. Now, being SMEs and in the commercial world, we know we'll knock at least another 10% off that, but they think we'll come in at 999,000. There's a lot of common mistakes that happen. Too often businesses don't understand or don't comply with what's required. You need to start reading it thoroughly. Read the specification, read it again, and understand what you're reading. Because too often, too many opportunities, we rush through it, we don't read it properly. As I said, I've done evaluation. I see it. I see those documents that come in, and the easy questions have got 2 pages as an answer, and the hard ones have got 2 paragraphs because nobody's given themselves time or thought about it. And you're going to miss out. Read the specification, understand what the drivers are, and deal with it. Watch out in terms of capacity. You know, the realism is that if you're a company with £100,000 turnover, you are highly unlikely to win a contract worth £2 million. But time and time again, and anyone in the public sector will tell you this, they see organisations of that size chasing massive contracts that they just cannot win. Be realistic about what your opportunities are. Make sure you're financially strong. Make sure your financial position is sound, because it's a big area of evaluation in terms of the pre-qualification. It's a big key part of the whole process, and if you're not financially sound, you're wasting your time. It's actually worth doing a credit check on yourself quite often. See, a lot of organisations that fail to answer the question that's asked. The classic of that happened last year, where one authority had put out the pre-qualification questionnaire, realised they'd made a mistake, recalled the document, said they would issue a new pre-qualification questionnaire, which they did, and one company, clearly going through the motions, had got someone just to cut and paste the answers from the first one back into the second one. Only problem was they'd introduced 4 extra questions. So they actually sent back a document which halfway through the questions went out of sequence and ended up with 4 empty answers at the end. Make sure you answer the questions and that you read the questions properly as well. Stop cutting and pasting, because it stands out. People in public sector will tell you it's quite easy to see. Think about experience of similar work. If you can show it, it doesn't have to be in public sector, but if you've got that experience, make sure you highlight it. If you're getting a contract, your tender document put together by different people in your organisation, which is a smart way to do it rather than one person trying to do the whole thing, make sure somebody checks it and it hangs together. Again, sometimes it's so obvious because it's been done by different people, it doesn't track, it doesn't read, and then sometimes you may even find that parts of your tender are in conflict. Make sure you get it checked and read over. Final thoughts. Stay focused, because that's what will win you contract opportunities. That's what the public sector are looking for, people who are focused on what they need. Look at the added values we've said already. Think about innovation. If you're not sure if they want innovation, ask the question of them. Because sometimes, yes, it is something they quite like, but they haven't necessarily given consideration to it. Think about risk up front, both ways, any risk in the contract and any risk to your organisation in undertaking the contract. Again, too often people don't do it. And make sure you're delivering and you're allowing for development. A good contract should never be exactly the same at the end as what it starts out, unless that's what the client demands. But otherwise, there's always ways and means to improve in contracts. There's always ways to develop on a contract. And it's something you've got to think about. Because once you've won that contract, you need to start focusing on the next time. Because personally, I've never met a company that only wants to win a contract once. Everybody wants to win it again and again. So focusing in and looking to develop it can help you the next time as well. Thank you.